Hi, I'm Josef Salvat and you're watching On The Move. I felt, I didn't want to be steamrolled by life. So I decided to do a law degree. I thought, like, backup plan, it'll be fine. And 4 years later, I was like, fuck, this is a very long backup plan. But music was always the plan. I wanted another perspective on life. There's so many. It's a really mixed bag. I mean, until I was about 11, I didn't listen to any pop music. I was like classical music, and in my parents' record collection there was like Bruce Springsteen, Nina Simone, Billie Holiday, and Art of Noise, which is an English band, and that was it. So that was, until I was about 11, that was it. And then when I was 11, there was a blackout in Sydney. So all the power went out in Sydney, and I was sick at home from school. There was no television, there was nothing. So I had this radio that was I didn't have to plug in or anything. And so that was all I had. I was in the dark with this radio. And so I started listening to Today FM, which is like the pop music. It's like energy, it's like that. And then I was like, wow, Spice Girls, Aqua, and then that's how it went. Yeah. It's great. It's very flattering. Lana Del Rey is amazing, and I guess I understand it to a certain extent, but yeah, I like Lana Del Rey. Yeah. I guess we both have. There's a certain like melancholy, maybe. Music. I went to London. Sometimes I love Australia. But sometimes you have to leave somewhere you love to do something you love, and the music that I was responding to was coming out of the UK, so I decided to throw my lot in and go over there and see if it worked, and it did work. And I met my producer over there, and I've worked with him now for 2.5 years in developing my sound, and yeah, it was great. I don't actually. I think it might have been like 10 years ago, but now no. Now you have fantastic labels like Future Classics, which is like Flume, and like all those sorts of artists. Triple J is very supportive. There's a lot of Australian bands that are doing very well internationally right now, like the Preachers. I mean, Flume is obviously a big example. So I think actually Gautier. I think you can start in Australia. It's just that there was a particular sound coming from the UK, like Amy Winehouse, Back to Black, Florence the Machine, Lungs. It was that type of music, and I wanted to go to where that was being made. I've never written for an album. I've never written for an EP. I just write. I've written for my whole life, and so I looked at all these songs that I had, and I thought, like, what's the common element? And some of them are really, like, I guess people would just call them really pop, and others are kind of more indulgent, more beautiful, more whimsical, more sort of but they're all tied together by like what I describe as sort of the bittersweetness of life. So so you've got happiness, but happiness ends. And that's really cruel when happiness ends. And then you have sadness, but sadness ends, and that's beautiful when sadness ends. So there's always a balance. And so I wanted to put, like Shoot and Run and Open Season sit on the same. To me, they're on the same scale. They're just opposite ends of the same scale. Some people have said, how can you have a song like Open Season and Shoot and Run on the same EP? It's like, well, obviously, that's what life is like, Because. For two reasons. One, I'm always trying songs out to see if I can cover them. It's just something you do. And I wanted to cover something, and it was either going to be an old song or something that's quite recent. And I sat down and I did Diamonds, and it just came together very quickly, and I figured out how to sing it, and it just worked. It just worked really well. And I loved the song when it came out, and it was written by Sia, who's Australian, and when I was a kid, when I was growing up, she released 2 records when I was a young teenager, and they were brilliant, and they soundtracked my life. And then she went to the other extreme with, you know, Titanium and writing for Rihanna and writing for Beyonce and all of this stuff. And I found her whole story really inspiring. And so the idea of singing her song, what Sia does very well is she has these lyrics that are very dark, very melancholic, but then she puts them to quite euphoric music. And that juxtaposition is something that I'm really interested in. And I looked at Diamonds after I'd already figured out how I was going to play it, and I thought, these lyrics are really, actually, they're dark, they're quite dark. They're about people losing themselves in basically drug abuse, you know, like, and just going into oblivion because that's where they can find their happiness together or whatever. And so I really wanted to showcase the lyrics, and it just happened. It was quite easy. So yeah. My album.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yeah. It's more or less done, and it's the same. It's on a similar scale to the EP. There are some very pop moments, and there are some sort of less straightforward moments. It's a selection of what I write, what I have written until now, and it kind of, to me, the album is going to be like, it's going to tie up my life up until now, and it's going to give me the freedom to go off and do other stuff, you know, that I really want to do now, but I need to get this out, you know. I need to just sort of tie up the end, and start a new page. So that's what this album is about, and it's a mixed bag, just like the EP. It's got the full spectrum.
You got the name of the album?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
The release date?
There's no release date either. It's like, yeah, there's a bunch of tentative release dates, but yeah. Salut, je m'appelle Joseph.
Comment tu as appris à parler français?
J'habitais à Paris il y a 10 ans, quand j'étais à l'école pour un échange. Ouais. Et ouais. Il y a longtemps que j'avais pas les français. Ouais. J'ai fait un concert. Un concert il y a 4 semaines, je crois, au Gaîté, la Gaîté, à la Gaîté lyrique. Et ouais, j'adore Paris. I really love it. Yeah.